Google's new quantum chip, Willow, might have just done something unbelievable. It could be the key to talking to aliens. This isn't just another computer. It's so powerful that it solved a problem in under 5 minutes that would have taken the best supercomputer longer than the entire age of the universe. But what if this chip isn't just fast? What if it's tapping into other worlds, using parallel universes to unlock messages we were never meant to hear? Tune in, because what we're about to uncover just caused the President of the US send the military to Google's offices. That's not just impressive, it's terrifying. Because if Willow really is tapping into other dimensions to crunch numbers, then what else could it be doing? Google isn't exactly known for transparency, and when a company this big claims it's bending the laws of physics, it's probably worth paying attention. Quantum computing isn't just a step forward, it's a whole new way of thinking. Traditional computers run on bits that are either 0 or 1, but quantum computers use qubits, which can be both at the same time. That means they're not just solving problems faster, they're working through every possible answer simultaneously. Before we dive deeper, one thing is certain: this goes far beyond just faster computing, and the truth behind it might be more unsettling than anyone is prepared to handle. And here's the kicker. Google claims that Willow is so advanced, it might have cracked the biggest roadblock in quantum computing: errors. Regular computers make mistakes too, but they have built-in ways to fix them. Quantum computers? Not so much. Even tiny disruptions, heat, noise, cosmic rays, can throw everything off. That's why error correction has been a nightmare for researchers. But Google swears it has solved this problem, which means Willow isn't just fast, it's reliable. If that's true, we're looking at a quantum leap, pun intended, in computing power that could change everything. But let's take a step back. Google has made big claims before, and not all of them have held up. In 2019, they said they had reached quantum supremacy, meaning their quantum computer could do something no regular computer ever could. Sounds great, except what they actually did wasn't useful. The calculation was just proving that the machine worked. And guess what? This time it's the same story. The problem Willow solved? Just generating a random distribution. That's like bragging about breaking a world record in a race no one else was running. Sure, it's impressive, but does it matter? That hasn't stopped people from freaking out about it. Some physicists are skeptical, pointing out that Google's claims are more about hype than substance. Others are asking bigger questions, like if a quantum computer really could tap into parallel universes, what would that even mean? Think about it. If this machine is truly operating across multiple dimensions, then it's not just processing data, it's interacting with other versions of reality. Could it be used to communicate across timelines? Could it pull knowledge from somewhere else? Could it, in theory, be the key to unlocking alien signals? Because if we're talking about a device that's moving between realities, then who's to say it isn't picking up information from other versions of Earth? Or, crazier still, from civilizations that exist outside of what we know? That might sound like sci-fi nonsense, but so did quantum computing a few decades ago. And let's not forget, Google isn't just playing around. They have the money, the brains, and the ambition to push this thing further than anyone else. If they've figured out something the rest of us don't understand yet, they're not going to tell us until they absolutely have to. There's also the darker side of this. If quantum computing is as powerful as Google claims, then the people who control it hold an insane amount of power. We're talking about breaking encryption, decoding classified information, and potentially seeing patterns in data that no one else can. And if the multiverse stuff is even partially true, then we're in uncharted territory. What happens when a machine can think beyond our reality? Are we really ready for that? Back in 2012, John Prill came up with a bold term, and by 2019, he was already questioning its true meaning. Google's so-called breakthrough, still up for debate. The company, of course, is already looking ahead, pushing its latest project, Willow, to a level that could make it actually useful. But let's be real, How many times have we heard that before? Tech giants love to promise the future, but do they ever really deliver? Google's quantum computer is a big deal, but when we look at the universe, the questions get even bigger, and the answers might be even harder to find. And speaking of the unknown, let's talk about something even bigger. The universe itself. We stare at the sky with our fancy telescopes and think we have it all figured out. But zoom in, dive deep into the subatomic world, and guess what? The same old physics still apply. No shocking discoveries, no wild surprises, just the same predictable order from the vastest galaxies to the tiniest particles. And yet, scientists bet big on two massive theories. String theory, which is flashy but still useless, and cosmic inflation, which suggests the universe suddenly blew up at impossible speeds right after the Big Bang. Sounds cool, but the truth, no one knows what triggered it or what existed before. But here's the kicker. If the universe really exploded in this chaotic expansion, why does everything now look so calm and uniform? The idea that the universe is some wild, tangled mess doesn't match what we actually see. Everywhere we look, things appear oddly neat and predictable. Maybe we just haven't looked close enough. Maybe the chaos is hiding somewhere we can't see yet. Or maybe, and this is the real kicker, the universe is exactly as simple as it seems, and all those big, complicated theories are just overthinking it. What if we're chasing ghosts when the answer is right in front of us? That brings us to a simple rule of science, Occam's razor. The idea is straightforward. The simplest explanation is usually the right one. If astronomers see weird lights on another planet, what's more likely, aliens or some totally normal weather phenomenon? Yet, when it comes to the biggest questions, we keep making things complicated. Scientists expected inflation to leave behind a clear signature, gravitational waves rippling through space. They've searched, they've refined their tools, they've looked harder than ever. And still, nothing. No waves, no proof, just more missing answers and more broken models. And the problems don't stop there. Inflation theory brings up a whole pile of issues. What exactly powered inflation? Why did the universe have the exact right conditions at the start? Some scientists argue that inflation leads to infinite bubble universes, meaning there could be endless versions of reality. That's not just confusing, it's impossible to test. At some point, science needs to stop playing guessing games and stick to what can actually be proved. That's exactly why some physicists, like Neil Turok, are pushing back. Instead of relying on overcomplicated inflation theories, Turok and his team are exploring a different approach, one that doesn't depend on wild assumptions or invisible forces. If we follow Einstein's laws all the way back, we hit a wall, a single point in space and time where everything shrinks down to nothing. This is what's called the initial singularity. But instead of just accepting that as the end of the road, some theorists, including Nobel Prize winner Roger Penrose, suggest that certain laws of physics actually bypass this mess entirely. Light and massless particles, for example, might not follow the same rules as everything else. If that's true, then the Big Bang might not be the real beginning at all. Picture stretching out a rubber sheet with a design on it. No matter how much you pull or press it, the drawing stays the same, just bigger or smaller. Now, what if the universe worked the same way? Instead of an explosive event shaping everything, maybe everything stays in balance because of an unbreakable rule of nature. This idea flips what we think we know and questions if the universe was really born in the way we believe. Scientists propose something shocking. The Big Bang wasn't a one-way ticket forward, it was a mirror in time. On one side, time moves the way we know it, forward. On the other, it moves backward, like a reflection. That means another version of everything we see could exist, but reversed. This idea follows a deep rule in physics called CPT symmetry, which suggests that for every action, there's an opposite reaction, but not just in force, in time and matter itself. Imagine flipping the universe upside down, reversing everything, and somehow the laws of physics still hold strong. If we want to understand the universe, we might need to change how we think, and some scientists believe flipping everything around could help. To get how CPT symmetry works, think of it like a massive theater performance. Every particle follows a strict script based on 3 rules: charge, parity, and time. If charge flips, matter turns to antimatter. If parity flips, the universe is mirrored. If time flips, everything runs backward. Now, here's the real twist. If all 3 flip at the same time, the universe acts like nothing changed. That's how well this theory holds together. But there's a catch. Our universe doesn't look like it obeys these rules. We see way more matter than antimatter, and time only seems to march forward. So what happened? A mirror universe is the answer some scientists suggest. If there's another version of our world moving backward in time, it would restore balance. This isn't some science fiction fantasy. It's a possible explanation for why the universe works the way it does. But does this mirror universe actually exist? Maybe, maybe not. It might just be a way to describe an idea rather than an actual place. Either way, it challenges everything we assume about space and time. And here's where things get even wilder. This idea could solve another giant problem: dark matter. Scientists know dark matter is out there, but no one knows exactly what it is. Enter neutrinos, tiny particles that barely interact with anything. There are different types, and some scientists think a special kind called a right-handed neutrino could be the answer. These neutrinos could be stable, meaning they don't decay like others. And guess what? If the mirror universe idea is correct, it actually predicts these right-handed neutrinos should exist. Researchers crunched the numbers and found something crazy. If these neutrinos are real, then at least one type of regular neutrino has to have no mass at all. That's a bold prediction, and scientists are now looking for proof by studying the way galaxies form and matter clumps together in space. If they can confirm these neutrinos are out there, it would not only prove the existence of dark matter, but also give weight to the idea of a mirror universe. That would change everything. Then comes another big question. Why is the universe so flat and smooth? You'd think with all the chaos of the Big Bang, the universe would be a mess, but instead it looks even and organized on a large scale. Scientists usually explain this with a concept called inflation, which says the universe expanded faster than light in its earliest moments. But what if inflation isn't needed? What if the universe naturally fell into this state because of the way probabilities work? Researchers found that a flat, expanding universe is simply the most likely outcome based on physics. They also found that the tiny differences in density that make galaxies and stars possible might not come from inflation at all, but from strange quantum effects instead. That means the whole inflation theory could be unnecessary, and this new way of thinking about the universe might be the real explanation. But to be sure, more research is needed. If this idea holds up, it could completely change how we understand the universe's past and future. One of the researchers leading this work, Neil Turok, believes the universe has a much simpler explanation than the complex standard model suggests. He argues that many of the theories we take for granted are just assumptions people have been afraid to challenge. If he's right, the whole foundation of modern cosmology might need a serious rewrite. That's no small thing. But even if his ideas turn out to be wrong, they still push scientists to look for better, simpler explanations. And that's what makes all of this so exciting. The idea of a mirror universe, the role of neutrinos, the possibility that inflation isn't needed, it all points to a new way of thinking about reality. The universe might not be as chaotic as we thought. Instead, it could be governed by deep, unbreakable patterns that shape everything from the tiniest particle to the largest galaxy. Whether or not this theory turns out to be true, one thing is certain: Science is far from having all the answers. The question now is, what else have we been getting wrong? While experts try to figure out the universe, an even bigger question remains. If there's life beyond Earth, how close are we to finding it? Humans have been obsessed with the idea of aliens for centuries. We make movies about them, write books, and dream about what it would be like to finally get proof that we're not alone. But let's be honest, if extraterrestrial life suddenly made contact, would we even be ready for it? Governments, scientists, and experts like to pretend they have a plan, but do they really? The truth is, preparing for an encounter with intelligent beings from another planet is way more complicated than most people realize. First, there's the question of how we'd even know they're trying to reach us. Organizations like SETI scan the skies for signals, hoping to catch a transmission from deep space. But here's the problem. How do we tell the difference between an alien message and some random cosmic noise? Even if we did pick up a signal, confirming its origin would take a long time. It's not like they'd send us a text saying, "Hey, this is Alpha Centauri speaking." And if the government found something, would they even tell us? Or would they hide it, afraid of what people might do? Let's say we do confirm a signal is from an alien civilization. Then what? Do we send a message back? And if we do, what do we even say? Human languages wouldn't mean anything to them. We'd have to use math or universal scientific concepts. But even that assumes they think the way we do. What if their way of communicating is completely beyond our understanding? Worse, what if they take our response the wrong way and see us as a threat? Speaking of threats, what if contact doesn't come in the form of a message, but in actual face-to-face interaction? Imagine one day a ship lands on Earth and out step beings from another world. What happens next? Do we greet them with open arms or do we panic? Let's be real. There's a good chance that fear would take over. Some people would see them as a danger, while others might worship them like gods. History has shown that humans don't always handle the unknown very well, and an event like this could throw society into chaos. And then there's the ethical side of things. If these beings are intelligent, do they have rights? How do we make sure we treat them with respect and not like some science experiment? What if they have their own rules and morals that are completely different from ours? For all we know, their idea of kindness might be terrifying to us. If they see us as primitive, would they even care about our rules and laws? What if they think we're just another species to be studied, or worse, conquered? Speaking of laws, our current space treaties were never designed to handle something like this. The Outer Space Treaty from the 1960s was made to stop countries from fighting over space, not to decide how to interact with aliens. Do we make new laws? Who gets to be in charge? The United Nations, the biggest world powers? What if different governments have different ideas about how to handle things? The last thing we need is some country deciding they own first contact. The cultural impact would be huge. People have strong beliefs about the universe and our place in it. What happens if we find out we're just one of many civilizations out there? Some people might see it as proof that their religion was right all along. Others might question everything they've ever believed. There's also the risk of information being twisted. Conspiracy theories would explode and misinformation would spread like wildfire. If you think fake news is bad now, just imagine how out of control things would get with aliens in the mix. And let's not forget the psychological impact. Some people would be excited. Others would be terrified. There would be those who embrace the idea of alien life and those who go into full-blown panic mode. The stress alone could cause serious issues for individuals and societies. It's not just about what aliens might do to us. It's about how we handle the idea that we are not alone. Would we unite as a species or break apart in fear and distrust? International cooperation would be essential, but history shows us that humans don't always work together well. Look at how countries handle global issues today. Wars, political fights, power struggles. Do we really think they'd suddenly put aside their differences to deal with extraterrestrial contact? We'd have to create an entirely new way of handling things, one that involves all of humanity rather than just a few major players. If we don't, we risk making a mess of first contact before it even begins. Then there's the question of what kind of contact we should prepare for. Will we just receive a message, or will they actually show up? Do we meet them on their terms, or do we try to control the situation? What if they aren't friendly? What if they see us as just another species to conquer or use? Hoping for peaceful contact is nice, but history has shown that not all civilizations are friendly. Just look at how humans have treated each other over the centuries. Preparing for an alien encounter isn't just about having a plan. It's about facing the reality that everything we know could change in an instant. It's not just a science problem. It's a social problem, a legal problem, a psychological problem. If we don't start thinking about these things seriously, we could be caught completely off guard when the moment finally comes. The universe is vast, and the odds of us being alone are slim. The real question is, will we be ready when the day arrives? Is Google's quantum chip just a breakthrough in technology, or has it already unlocked signals from alien civilizations that we aren't being told about? Tell us what you think, and remember to like and subscribe for more.